Hello and welcome to another short video for Truth Podcast. Now this evening I come to you with a story that I believe that needs to be broadcast, that as many people as humanly possible needs to hear and needs to see, in the hope that the authorities actually deal with a problem and they deal with it in the right way. And I have reasons for doing the video that I'm doing, and I'll explain as I go along. So, a young man who has a mental illness, who finds sanctuary, I guess, at the bottom of a bottle, who has become a bit of a nuisance, in all fairness, to the police, in where that every time that he takes a drink, he drinks to, I guess, block out how that he feels. He may end up in the street. He might end up where people, passers-by, might see him. They phone the police. The police come along and they have to actually babysit him. So this has happened several times. And, the authorities then take him to court, which I think was the right thing to do, in order that the court could, really try to turn his life around, maybe give him a short, sharp shock, in order that maybe he understands that you can't be going on doing them things, and you maybe need to turn things around and begin, doing what ordinary people do and not trying to find relief at the bottom of a bottle, causing a nuisance of yourself every time you take a drink. So the judge gives him a 6 month suspended sentence, and he finds himself in a cell. 6 month suspended sentence. He gets out. He does the same thing all over again. He's delivered back to court, and they put him in Magabry to serve the 6 month suspended sentence that he was given. Now, again, I'm saying that is the right thing to do, because sometimes a short, sharp shock in a case like this might be the thing that would turn this young man around, and to make him think and to get him to put his life back in order. So he finds himself in a cell in Magabry. He has a cellmate. Now, I had a phone call from this young man on Monday, just Monday past there, in where the young man tells me that he has a broken jaw, that he's going to hospital to have the broken jaw mended. And, to which I had said to him, because, I'm obligated to look after this young man. And I had said to him, well, look, listen, you make sure that you tell the prison authorities to keep me informed of every step along the way, on your progress, on the operation that you're getting, and are you out of your operation, and are you fine? And to which I expected the authorities to contact me, and I'm going to say that they didn't. So it gets a phone call on Thursday by, again, this young man, by legal means, from Magabry prison, to say that he's actually he's out of hospital. He's had 2 plates inserted into his jaw, and then he comes clean and he tells me exactly what happened. So he says that he has a cellmate. He tells me that this cellmate, he was an illegal immigrant. He tried to enter the country. Now, I don't know whether it was the UK end or whether it was Northern Ireland coming across from England. I don't know why it was coming across from Ireland. But he was stopped by, obviously, people that wanted to know who he was and show whatever documentation that he had. Now, what I am led to believe is this man was from Algeria, and he gave the authorities, the police, false documentation. And he ended up in the hands of the police. I don't know who got him, whether he was stopped at the airport. I don't know anything about it. But he ended up in the custody of the police. And what I'm told is the reason why that he was in Magabry is that he assaulted police officers in the process. So this has all been alleged to me. And I'm telling the story for a reason. And you'll get to understand as this story goes along. So he ends up in a cell with this man who allegedly entered the country with false documents, assaulted a police officer or police officers, and found himself in Magabry in this young man's cell, the young man with mental illness and with alcohol problems. Now, this young man is very, very timid. He's easily bullied, and he tells me that he was being bullied by the Algerian guy in the cell that was with him. Now, I'm going to firstly say that I'm not one to talk about religion other than the Christian religion whenever I try to promote the very fact that I do believe that everyone that comes from here should begin looking back to Judeo-Christian values, because in those values there's a great deal of common sense, and if only our country followed what it is that they do in everyday life by way of the Judeo-Christian values. So you'll hear me talking about that, but I never get involved in talking about anyone else's religion. Now, let's just say at this point that this Algerian man, I am told by the young man that was assaulted and ended up with a broken jaw in Maghaberry prison, he tells me that he was being bullied by this man. He tells me that in the night, I'm not too sure whether it was once in the middle of the night or several times in the night, but he tells me that he was constantly being woken up by this man on a prayer mat, praying to, well, I can only assume that he was praying to Allah. Now, last Saturday, in the cell in Maghaberry prison, this young man with mental illness and alcohol problems, a genuine young man without the alcohol in him, by the way, he felt a wee bit uncomfortable. He had told the authorities several times that he was being bullied by this guy. And, well, the television was on, is what I'm told. And this young man loves football, and he wanted really to see the football results. So, ascertaining that this guy wasn't actually watching the television, he got the remote control and he turned over to the football results, or the football match, to which that the Algerian guy stood up and threatened him for turning the television over. Now, a bit of a scuffle then progressed, really aggressed by this Algerian man. And I am told that it came to the point whereby that it was kind of restrained between both people. Now, as this young man, the man with mental illness, who finds himself in prison through fault of his own, through making a nuisance out of himself, through having mental illness, and through, taking alcohol and making a nuisance and causing the police to have to babysit him. He tells me that when he gets up to walk off after the scuffle stopped, that this Algerian man hit him a merciful dig up the side of the face, and well, it resulted in him having to go to hospital and to receive plates in his jaw. Now, the story progresses in a way that I am told, I had another phone call today from this young man, in which I had a lot of questions, and I was able to pose the questions and get a lot of answers out of the young man with reference what actually happened. Because if you can imagine, I was being told on Thursday about this entire case, but I had a lot of questions of my own. Now, I am told that this young man had made several requests to the prison authorities that he didn't want to be there, that he was being bullied, that he was being wakened in the middle of the night by this guy praying to his God. And really, should anyone, and that's a question, should anyone be put through circumstances like that, feeling uncomfortable, feeling intimidated, and really being scared to speak out, no matter where you are, no matter why you're in prison? But I'm telling you what the circumstances were for this young man being in prison. So I began today to ask a lot of questions with reference what actually happened. Now, I'm told that whenever this young man was brought back from the hospital after having an operation to have plates put into his jaw, and apparently a tooth was broken to smithereens, had to be extracted also, I'm told that when he came back to prison, he went through a scanner. Now, remember, this young man was with two prison officers the entire time, where they would have been with him at the hospital, maybe to change the guard. But these prison officers would have been with this young man at all times. So he's taken back into Maghaberry prison, and he goes through a scanner, to which then he's accused of well, the scanner apparently would have found drugs on his person or in and around his system. But here, didn't he just go through an operation? Perhaps did he get morphine for to go through the operation that he went through? So he's placed in solitary confinement after having been released from hospital, and he ends up in a solitary confinement cell. Now, what I understand about this case through me talking to this young man today is that apparently the governor or someone of high authority, high stature within the prison, they came along, and I can only imagine that they seen that this was totally wrong, and whoever this man was, whether he be the governor or someone in high stature, authorised or instructed the people to put this young man up into a cell, and they would deal with the problems that the scanner found the very next day. He was told to drink plenty of water and to begin through a scan the very next day. Now, subsequently, there was nothing that was actually found on him. In fact, how could anything have been found in that young man whenever that he went to hospital and he was under guard by prison officers the entire time with no visits whatsoever? The only contact he had was with the people in the operating theatre and I guess the doctors and nurses who would have tended to him after the operation that he went through. So really, this is a story of a young man being placed under, I'm going to say, unpalatable circumstances in a cell with a man who was bullying him, with a man who came here illegally, with undocumented, with a man that was capable of, and what is told to me and what is alleged of this man, that he assaulted police officers, and that's the reason why that he was in Maghaberry. And then subsequently, he breaks a young man's jaw who is there because of his mental illness and his alcoholism. Now, I will have a front row seat in this case. You know, I have an interest in ensuring that this case is dealt with properly by the authorities. Now, whenever I look at what has happened to date, again, I'm told that whenever the young man pressed the buzzer, the emergency alarm, whenever his jaw was just broken, I'm told that it took an extreme amount of time for the prison guards to come and to find out what was actually happening. Now, I will be watching this case with a hawk-like eye. I will bring you updates as and where that I can. I will be approaching the relevant authorities. I will be approaching politicians to really find out what is happening in Maghaberry prison. You know, isn't there a duty of care to vulnerable young men that go in there through, I'm going to say, through having mental illness and alcohol problems, who are enemies to themselves and really to no one else? Isn't there a duty of care to ensure that there's risk assessments that is put in place to ensure that something like this can never ever happen? So that's the story. That's the story that I wanted to broadcast. That's the story that I want, and I say within this video, is that I talked to that young man through a prison phone today, and I've no doubt that the prison, well, they record everything. I've no doubt that the authorities know what I was told today. I've no doubt that the authorities understand that my questioning of this young man, for the purpose of understanding, would have raised so many questions, so many questions that would be bringing what has happened into really areas in where that everyone should be concerned. So I guess that I'm doing this video in order that the authorities watch this, in order that the authorities deal with this the right way, and pending the outcome, well, that's my doggy barking, pending the outcome of this case, well, let's just see whether that there's going to be further updates in respect of that this young man's case has been dealt with in the right way by the authorities, or that this young man is really being neglected by a system that is there to ensure that, and has a duty of care to ensure that when someone goes to prison, they're never subjected to anything like the story that I have just told you. So I'm asking you to help me with this story, to like, to comment, to share, to subscribe to your channel, and to pass this out to as many people as humanly possible, and to watch for updates on this case. Now, there comes a point in this case where I'll not be able to talk about this, because if there is a legal process which is enacted, well, that will be me stopped. But I wanted to highlight this, and I wanted to highlight this in order that the authorities know that they have to deal with this case using the proper channels, and they have to look at what happened to this young man, and they have to ensure that this never ever happens to anyone again. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you all soon on another video for Truth Podcast.